My kids will not leave me alone.
Hey, that's me.
Kim Kardashian has been in the headlines recently, and this time it's because of her daughter Chicago West. After Kim posted a carousel on her Instagram of Chicago, it got a mix of reactions to say the least. Immediately, people started criticizing Kim for how differently she treats all of her kids, North, St. Chicago, and St. West. And now, the dark and twisted truth about why she does it and what she's doing to Chicago is finally coming out. It started when people began noticing that Kim posted North more than any of her other kids, so she decided to post a carousel of Chicago, and it just looked like Kim was trying to cover up what she had been accused of doing, but it doesn't look like it worked. In the picture of Chicago on her Instagram, the comments were gushing about how beautiful she looked. But that was not the only thing people commented on. A lot of people commented about how rare it was that Kim posted a picture of her second daughter. In the picture, Chicago was wearing a purple unicorn onesie. The onesie had a hood complete with the unicorn's eyes, ears, and a horn. And in the picture, the hood was covering Chicago's head, but at the same time, you could still see her hair. And with a bowl of ramen in front of her, it was pretty obvious that Chicago was enjoying what she was eating at the time. On the other hand, it could be that Chicago was enjoying having the camera pointed at her instead of North for a change. I mean, if anyone had to guess who was going to be in the carousel that Kim posted, they would have probably guessed North. And 9 times out of 10, that would be right. It's easy to see how that can build up some resentment in Chicago, because who doesn't want their mom's attention, especially when they're 5 years old? But seeing it constantly go to your siblings sometimes makes it even worse. Fortunately, it looks like Chicago was the one in the spotlight this time. And not only was Chicago the one in the picture, but a lot of people commented about how much she looks like Kim. But that was not the only thing that was said about the picture. In fact, from here, it got a whole lot worse, because another public opinion was that Kim was trying to market her kids and use them for brand endorsements and things like that. And well, it's not hard to see where this is coming from, especially since celebrities usually nudge their children to do what made them celebrities in the first place. And for Kim, branding will always be one of her biggest assets. So Kim started getting accused of trying to create an image for her children. And a good example people pointed out was how much North is featured in Kim's social media posts. It almost feels like Kim is preparing North for a life of social media influencing, and since North is always front and center, it makes people wonder if the other kids are getting neglected in the process. And they could be right, because earlier this year, Kim went on a trip to Japan with her kids, and it looked like Kim and her kids were getting immersed in Japanese culture. And by kids, I mean North, because that was the child Kim posted pictures of the most throughout the trip. It got to the point that people started wondering what the other kids were doing, since they were barely featured in any of Kim's posts. Some people even went as far as accusing Kim of neglecting her other kids, and that it could create something of a rift between her and them in the future, or even worse, they could start acting out. This would not be surprising considering how many kids of celebrities we've seen act out. Somehow this doesn't seem to be bothering Kim at all, but then some people took it a step further to say Kim was only paying attention to the child that makes her money. And we all know that kid is not Chicago. But if you haven't guessed by now, it's North. And if North keeps it up, she's likely going to start making a lot of money pretty fast, just like her aunt Kylie and Kendall Jenner. And speaking of the Jenners, someone said that the reason Kim was focusing on North was because that was the same thing her mom, Kris Jenner, did. According to them, Kris also only paid attention to her child who made her the most money. But then it gets even worse, because another public opinion was that Kim was using her kids to grab attention. And again, it's easy to see how that might be true. And it would not be the first time that Kim has been accused of trying to have the spotlight on her at all times. But what makes it worse this time is that people think that Kim would use her kids just to be in the spotlight. Then again, the fact that even Kanye West had an issue with North and Kim putting out content on TikTok, but Kim refused to stop, says something. Instead, Kim encouraged her 9-year-old at the time to keep putting out content to express her creativity in her own way. This just rubbed people the wrong way, because North could get exposed to a lot of inappropriate things on social media. But even then, would risking her kids being exposed to inappropriate things be the craziest thing Kim has done to grab attention? Well, that's up to anyone to decide for themselves. Now, at this point, the story gets a really weird twist, and it's because another set of comments said that it was Chicago's turn. Kim is still using her kids to get attention and then trying to create an image for them. So far, the main focal point has been North, and Kim has done a pretty good job of making people notice North. Now it looks like Kim might be turning her attention toward Chicago, and this is raising a lot of questions. Is Kim turning the spotlight to Chicago because she has succeeded in giving North a public image, or is she moving on to the next child because she might have made a mistake with North's image? And even then, Chicago is not Kim's second child. That would be sane. But if Kim is following her mother's blueprint, it's easy to see how she might skip over her first son. Kris has always focused on making money off of her daughters, never Rob. I mean, Kim might not even know how to prepare Saint to have a social media presence. At this point, people are saying that Kim might be exploiting all her kids, and now it's Chicago's turn. It looks like it comes with receiving a lot of attention from Kim. Then, some people were also concerned if the kids knew what they were getting into. So far, it doesn't look like the kids are in any danger or anything. In fact, it looks like North is having fun creating content. But at the end of the day, North is still 10 years old and Chicago is only 5 years old. So it's a bit hard to imagine that Kim explained all the implications of what being active on social media can cause, especially at their age. And if Kim was somehow able to do that, a lot of people were wondering if the kids would give their consent to being on social media. So do you think Kim is exploiting Chicago and her siblings? Let me know what you think in the comments.